She is Aurelia García Cruceño. On December 20, 2022, Aurelia was released after 3 years in prison in Iguala, Guerrero, Mexico. The judge considered that the evidence against her was not sufficient. When the young woman was 20 years old, the State Attorney General's office accused her for homicide by reason of kinship, after suffering a miscarriage in which she lost so much blood that she almost lost her life as well. Aurelia García Cruceño began to suffer sexual abuse at the age of 19 in Xochicalco, the indigenous community of the state of Guerrero to which she belonged. The attacker, a policeman 30 years older than her, repeatedly raped her. The young woman ended up getting pregnant, but she never denounced for fear. In June 2019, she fled to Iguala, a city in the same state, where she took refuge in her aunt's house. On October 2, 2019, she was home alone when she started having severe pain in her belly and to bleed, until she had a miscarriage on the bed where she usually slept. When she wakes up, Aurelia is handcuffed to the bed and charged with the crime of kinship homicide. Hospital staff pestered her with questions about what she had done to the baby. The lawyers, who were supposed to defend her, tricked her into agreeing to go to prison for 13 years, insisting that otherwise she would end up spending 50 years in jail. All conversation and the process were conducted in Spanish without a translator into Nahuatl, Aurelia's language. Thus, Aurelia was locked up in jail in Iguala, where she spent 3 years of her life. Although the Supreme Court of Mexico decriminalized abortion in September 2021, the prosecutor office of the different states continued to find ways to penalize this practice. As in the case of Aurelia, at least another 200 are estimated in Mexico. But what is behind the attitudes of the health personnel who treated Aurelia, of the lawyers who were supposed to defend her, of the judicial system that sentenced her? Why, despite the ruling of the Supreme Court of Justice, only 10 of the 32 states of the Mexican Republic have legislated on the abortion? One reason is the condemnation of abortion for considering an immoral act. But is it really? In this video, I'm going to argue that it is not, and that, on the contrary, there are a series of solid reasons why we can consider it an ethically acceptable decision. In ethics, we have two approaches: deontological, who focus in the principles, like prescriptivism, and teleological, focus in the consequences, like utilitarianism. If we focus in the principles, we must formulate a sentence like this: you ought, for example, you ought to respect the autonomy. It means the personal regulation that everybody has over his body, his future, his life. The dignity, the inherent value of the individual, and the freedom, the possibility of choice. All of these principles are in the base of the sexual and reproductive rights. So, since this approach, the abortion is an ethical choice. But there are those who intend to violate these rights by appealing to the right of the fetus to preserve life. When two perspectives are confronted, a theoretical structure that helps us face the confrontation is utilitarianism, which helps us by valuing the alternative that brings the less possible harm. Let us ask, what are the negative consequences of procreating an unwanted child? But before, maybe let us ask, why do pregnant people abort? Let us see the US case. According to a study from the University of California, quoted in an article in the New York Times, about half women who had an abortion in 2014 were below the poverty line, with another quarter very close to poverty. A majority of abortion patients are in their 20s, just 9% are under 20s, and around a third are over 30s. 6 in 10 women who have abortion are already mothers, and half of them have 2 or more children, according to 2019 data from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention. Increasingly, women say that they are delaying having children until they can finish school, establishing a career, and support themselves. But let us come back and take a look to Mexico, the country of Aurelia. Mexico ranks first in adolescent pregnancy among OECD countries. Mexico also ranks first in sexual abuse of minors among OECD countries. As it is read in a note from the newspaper La Jornada in Mexico, 1 of 2 adolescents between the age of 12 and 19 become pregnant as a result of rape, because she got married or because she did not receive comprehensive information, according to the organization Save the Children. From 2006 to 2014, almost 100,000 deliveries to mothers under 15 years of age were reported. Of these, 394 were girls as young as 10 years old. What will be the consequences of having an unwanted child? Process of rape in childhood or adolescence? According to Living, quoted in United Nations Women, when women and girls bear children as a result of rape, the trauma, stigma, and discrimination they face from the rape itself can be combated by having a child. For example, girls and women who bear children of rape may be sent away from their homes, families, and communities. Lacking support from community and family members, they might suffer from poverty, malnutrition, and reproductive health problems. The fear of stigma may prevent pregnant girls and women from seeking out adequate medical care, putting them at increased risk of birth complications. On the other hand, pregnancy in childhood and adolescence is related to school dropout, educational lack, difficult access to health services, and poverty. According to the newspaper El Economista, 8 out of 10 women in Mexico live in some degree of poverty or vulnerability. According to the Chilango magazine, 44% of the women who had an abortion in Mexico City public clinics from 2007 to today, April 2019, indicated that they have one or more children. What will be the consequences of having an unwanted child when you do not have the necessary condition to maintain it, either due to poverty, because the family is already large enough, or because you do not have the personal resources to maternity? As can be read on the Save the Children website in Mexico, according to official data in 2021, every day 7 girls, boys, or adolescents were murdered daily and 37 suffered physical violence. This without counting the multiple cases that did not are identified or reported. According to the most recently annual report from UNICEF Mexico, there are higher levels of poverty than other population groups. 52.6% among the population from 0 to 70 years old and 43.9% among those 18 and over. In other words, 1 in 2 children or adolescents lives in poverty, about 19.5 million. It's surely not coincidence that phenomena such as sex tourism or child pornography are so common in Mexico. According to the newspaper El Financiero, before the pandemic, Mexico exported 60% of child pornography to the entire world. Currently, said rate shot up to 73%. But if this is the scenario in Mexico, let's go back to our initial question. Why was Aurelia convicted by both doctors and lawyers and by the legal system without a fair trial? Perhaps because those who mistreated and condemned her in advance had only one of these two rights in their hands: the right to preserve the life of the proud. But if someone maintains that life must be defended, they should, if it is conscient, also defend the entire life of pregnant people and the children they might already